Libertarian Party suing Jena, largely to invalidate all of the machines. She just deployed overnight with the help of the governor. They said they had air assets, whatever that means. And they updated all the passwords on all the machines, touched all of them without any opportunity for the Republican Party to even file a lawsuit or object or anything. So Mr. Justice, your motion to intervene is denied. The passwords are obsolete anyways. They've been changed. Yeah, you went to all the machines and changed them. She just made the rules like 2 days ago. Didn't notify anybody about it at all. Just did it with the governor. In Colorado, leaky Jena Griswold and her password problem were in court, and we have a great X thread courtesy of Ash in America, who was there and is reporting on what happened inside the courtroom where recordings were not allowed. It was live streamed, but you were not able to record anything, and so I do not believe there were any recordings available. But we have the very next best thing, courtesy of Ash, who was there and is giving us the chronicles of what happened. We're in Colorado, in the Jena Griswold leaky password case. Libertarian Party suing Jena, largely to invalidate all of the machines. There's a little bit of a delay in the court proceedings. Everybody's twiddling their thumbs there, sitting in the courtroom waiting for the judge. Door bursts open. All rise. Oh, Judge comes in, says, okay, first order of business, everybody. Now, in the courtroom, our observation limit has been reached. We are now packed in here, so nobody else is coming in, says the judge. Now, she's reading her order for the courtroom conduct now. There, well, we know about outbursts, and oh, don't share. Okay, now, where do we begin here? Well, Your Honor, we have an emergency motion to intervene. Thank you, Mr. Justice. Says, petitioners, having no objection, respondents object. So the government objects to this guy coming in. They say, well, no, he can't come in. This is just a generalized grievance now. So Mr. Justice, he's trying to insert himself into this case. Remember, the Libertarian Party is suing Jena, saying that the machines are invalidated because they have to go through logic and accuracy and certifications and testing and validations, and there's a trusted build of the software, and then they put it on the machine. And then when you go in there and you start changing passwords and checking logs and doing a bunch of things, you're now manipulating the system. So you have to have a retrusted build because you just changed something. It's a trusted build without changing it. Once you change it, it's not trusted anymore. So then you have to have an actual process for creating a new build, image it back onto the machines, go through logic and all that stuff. And Jena didn't. She just deployed overnight with the help of the governor. They said they had air assets, whatever that means. And they updated all the passwords on all the machines, touched all of them without any opportunity for the Republican Party to even file a lawsuit or object or anything. So libertarians sue. Now this guy is wanting to intervene. So he says, Mr. Justice is speaking. Your Honor, this is why I'm here today. Intervening as an elector, and I'm asking for a different remedy here to solve this rather than throwing the machines out. The judge says, well, I've reviewed rules 24A2 here, and I've reviewed your emergency verified petition to intervene here. And the court notes that on page 8 of 9, Mr. Justice, the intervener requests that the Secretary of State, Jena, so this guy wants Jena, to direct the clerks to conduct a specific analysis prior to certification of the election following a hand count. Okay, so this guy wants something different. Now, the court notes that Mr. Justice's remedy is different than the Libertarian Party and says the respondent argued against the requested remedy, citing risk-limiting audit. So the government comes back and says, well, we don't need you to intervene here. We don't need any of these remedies, Your Honor. They're all bad because we're just going to do an audit and we're going to show you there were no problems here. Judge says, oh, that makes sense to me. So Mr. Justice, your motion to intervene is denied. So he does not come in. So then Fielder asks if Clay Parikh can listen as an expert witness. So the Libertarian Party lawyers, remember Clay Parikh, he was the guy who testified in the Maricopa County case, says, can he listen in, Your Honor? We're going to certify him as an expert witness, and so he'll be allowed to listen to the testimony because we're going to ask him to comment on it. May we have him listen in because the courtroom might be full. Can he come in, listen, or listen in online? The government, Jena's office, Your Honor, we object. We don't think Clay Parikh is an expert at all, actually, so we're not going to qualify him as an expert. It's okay if he wants to listen, but we don't think he's qualified at all. So then they bring in the Attorney General's office. Jena can't handle it on her own, so she brings in the AG for some backup, and a paralegal from the AG's office is also present. The three attorneys representing the Secretary of State, says Ash in America reporting, and by the way, Ash is a writer, host, activist. She's a victor, obviously. Says, be unconquerable. Amazing. Make sure you're following her at Ash in America on X. Says, the three attorneys representing the Secretary of State are entirely from the AG's office. Reminder that Chris Beal, who's Jena's little B, Chris B, he's Jena's little B, and he just doing her work for her because she can't do it herself. Reminder that he was outside counsel for the Secretary of State from the AG's office before he became the Deputy Secretary of State. Okay, so it's one big, disgusting, incestuous relationship. Now, Ash says, court allows Parikh plus the respondent witnesses, Rudy and Edelman, from the Secretary of State's office to watch via WebEx. So now all these people are piling in. So the Libertarian Party is making their argument. He's making opening remarks now. He says, Your Honor, let me go through this list. I'm showing you this one and 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 this one. And as you can see, it's 63 of 64 counties across Colorado. This is unprecedented, meaning I haven't found any precedent for what has happened here, like ever, at all, never. Citing the specific statutes, you can read the complaint at that link. We read the full complaint here from the Libertarian Party. It was great. Now, Ash says, now we're not really talking about certification, okay? Like that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about decommissioning the breached devices. When you went in, you manipulated them. They say we're talking about a fair and accurate vote count. Now, any device that is subject to a live password breach implicates the devices in the county more broadly. And so this is a major security problem, and we're talking about decommissioning all of these machines. In addition to that, there were technical problems, but in addition, I want to talk about what Jena did in the aftermath of this, okay? Not only was there a problem, but they tried to cover it up, Your Honor. They didn't reveal this to the clerk or to the public until after the story broke. And so what they've done is even worse. Then the government comes up and says, Your Honor, this is a bunch of red herring nonsense. Quite frankly, Your Honor, the issue is no one takes more seriously than the secretary and the deputy secretary, okay? We've been on this from the beginning. Says the passwords are obsolete anyways. They've been changed. Yeah, you went to all the machines and changed them. So our position is that the Secretary of State is in strict compliance with the rules that were promulgated by the Secretary of State. She says, I'm not kidding. She literally said that, which is insane, okay? Because Jena passed her rules for herself and then executed the rules. And then they said in court that Jena is in strict compliance with the rules that were promulgated by Jena. In court, they're telling a judge, well, she followed the rules. She just made the rules like 2 days ago. Didn't notify anybody about it at all. Just did it with the governor. New rule. They fixed the passwords. Then she goes into court and says, I'm just following the rules. Don't get mad at me. Saying the requested remedy, if you do this, would create chaos in all 64 counties. Like you can't decommission these machines. That's insane. We're in the middle of an election. And by the way, Your Honor, we don't even believe the court has the authority to even tell us to not use the machines. Wow. You can't even tell us to stop using them. We're going to use them whether you like it or not. Now they're saying that the Libertarian Party, they didn't even test the components, Your Honor, after this brief. So they don't even know what they're talking about, okay? They didn't even look at the machines. They didn't touch them. So they have no personal knowledge of the machines. The machines are fine. And by the way, Your Honor, we're asking this court to find that you lack jurisdiction over this case, all right? You shouldn't even be hearing this case. They filed it illegally. They don't have a standing. They don't have whatever it was. You don't have jurisdiction. So how about right now we just say you can't even hear this case? She says, no, we're going to decline that. I'm going to keep my jurisdiction, but we're going to make a record here. So we're going to go through the hearing today and we're going to keep the case. So the judge says, all right, we can begin. Libertarian Party, come on in here. Government, I'm not sure who this witness is. The petitioners, the Libertarian Party fielder, he calls Hannah Goodman. Hannah Goodman comes in. Promise to tell the truth, all truth, number two, tell God. I do. Miss Goodman, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? She says, sure. Yeah, I'm here today as a voter. I'm also a candidate for Colorado District 4. I'm also the chairman of the Libertarian Party CO, and the LPCO is running 24 candidates in this election for federal, state, and local offices all across Colorado. Goodman says, we spent a lot of time talking about candidate strategy and how we're going to execute the strategy. And so that's why I'm here. That's what we do. And the government says, okay, but Miss Goodman, you don't have any evidence of fraud, do you? Or personal knowledge of the breach that was exploited. And you also lost your prior election, didn't you? You did. Oh, no further questions. So let's say she has no personal knowledge and she lost. So you're just mad because you lost, aren't you? You're biased. That's why you're here. Got it. Libertarians fielder calls Colonel Sean Smith, U.S. Air Force retired. He's sworn in. True soldier and God. You. Talking about October 23rd. This was the last day that Smith downloaded the voting systems inventory file from the Secretary of State website. So this guy is retired U.S. Air Force. Hey, can you tell me how you're involved in this case? He says, yeah, on October 23rd, I downloaded the file from Jena's website. You did. How many times did you download that file from their website? Gosh, I don't know, 30 to 40 times. Public data. And you were downloading this file prior to June? Yeah, I was. And when you download this file, Mr. Mr. Smith. Can you tell me what format is it in? It's a PDF file. Oh, it is. And then what happened? Well, they changed it to an Excel spreadsheet in August 2024. Okay. And then when I was downloading this again on October 24th, he says, I noticed hidden worksheets in the file. Smith described the file and the data that the fields included. He says, yeah, there was a whole column in there for the BIOS passwords. Do you have that file with you? Yeah, I have it right here on the hard drive. He says, well, the file was saved, opened the file, or who owned the file. He says, yeah, I checked the properties. And what did it say? It said the file was saved by Edward Morgan on the 25th of June. Edward Morgan, the leaker? Busted. These are complete BIOS passwords for systems used both by Dominion and Clear Ballot. Wow. Testimony in court. These are complete BIOS passwords for systems used by both Dominion and Clear Ballot. So Smith is now stating his background. He says, yeah, I mean, I was retired Air Force. I used to test critical infrastructure for the DOD. I know what I'm talking about. So were you concerned when you saw this list of passwords in that spreadsheet? Objection! Your Honor, lack of foundation. He has no basis for being concerned. Your Honor, may we approach? They go up, they talk to the judge. Objection sustained. She says, fine, I'll lay some additional foundation now. He says, okay, when you were doing DOD critical infrastructure security testing, tell me about this. Tell me to do this. Tell me, what did you do here? Yeah, I did this and I secured that and I know what 256 hashes and encryptions and seed phrases and all sorts of things. So then they move to admit Smith as an expert. Your Honor, clearly he's qualified. He worked for the DOD. They say, Your Honor, we'd like to voir dire him and ask him some questions. Judge allows it. So the Attorney General comes in to help Jena's office out. The Attorney General says, Mr. Smith, have you ever testified as an expert on electromechanical voting systems in Colorado? He says, what? There aren't electromechanical voting systems in Colorado. So I don't know what you're talking about. Gallery's like, what a doofus. The court says, hey, stop laughing at our useless government. Says, I've heard laughs 3 times. One more time from laughing at Jena's office, and the court's going to clear the gallery. Judge is angry. Electromechanical, get a load of that guy. All right, so then voir dire is completed. They say, Your Honor, he doesn't know anything about electromechanical voting machines, obviously, so we move to object to allowing him to be an expert. Court says, well, obviously you guys are idiots, so I overruled that objection. There aren't any electromechanical voting machines, so Smith is now admitted as an expert. Gallery's like high-fiving each other. Smith is now testifying about the impact of the BIOS passwords and the breach. He says what it allows a user to do. He's like, it does everything. You can change passwords, you can change the boot sequence, you can override passwords, you can add or remove users, etc. It's wild. Do whatever you want. He says there are an immense amount of attack vectors that will happen here. It's like wild. So, good updates from Ash.